underground program that's been here since slavery, since Nat Turner. Once he went and killed 63 white folks, they were already taking his skin. They boiled them in oil, and this was something they just started doing with Nat Turner. So Europeans have been they were cutting off the penises, the foot, other organs of men and women.
Right,
but not selling them at that.
Right. I think the cutting of the genitals was more of a humiliation piece.
It was.
These,
punishment.
If we look at today's society, we got fluoride in the water.
Yes.
We got Monsanto, so we got things that are affecting people's organs.
Absolutely.
And so we need some healthy specimens.
Well, my brother was talking about Merck. And when maybe you can jump back in and talk about it.
Merck Pharmaceuticals, established by Samuel Merck in its concurrent corporate form.
Okay.
But the history of the company was established at the time of the slave trade, whereby which specimens, Africans for sale would come in. There would be an inspection of them. There would be a delousing of them, which would take place up under medical care.
Right.
And by with weight, measure, they got all into what tribe it was, measuring your nose length, eye color, everything.
Okay.
So from that point, you go into being established on the plantation and then continued. Of course, there was no medical care provided, but there was experimentation that occurred.
Absolutely.
And the family of the Merck Pharmaceutical Company has documented from that slavery plantation time medical experiments that occurred on Africans whom he would go around to different plantations and say, hey, look, let me get this wench over here.
That's right.
She's been a bit unruly, I've heard. And she could
kind of like how they're doing in California when they took off the ovaries of the women prisoners.
Exactly.
As of recent.
There you go.
Well, because not only the ovaries understand eugenics.
Right.
They not only took ovaries, they took wombs out of young women that were on health, Medicaid, Medicare, and they were going in for government assistance. They said, wait a minute, you done had 3 children.
Planned Parenthood.
Parenthood, we don't want you to have no more. And the only way we're going to give you this help is if you allow us to take out your womb.
Right.
And then they're using placentas in females' makeup.
Right.
Women's makeup.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but again, what I'm having trouble because I've talked to a sister that just recently got her not only ovaries and her appendix taken out and her gallbladder taken out, but she told me that the doctor said that she really had no use for them. And so I'm just thinking to myself, as a natural being, that every organ has a function, even your appendix does.
Absolutely.
Right.
And so I'm thinking to myself, in my mind, because they say that black women, they rush to the hospitals and we don't go to the hospitals.
Exactly.
But because of medical apartheid,
Yes.
I can back up the reason why I don't go. But
Yes.
you got the women going there trusting the doctors,
Absolutely.
giving their organs. So the black men, we not going to this, so they got to come after us.
Right.
And I think that's why Mr. Johnson got his organ snatched.
Right. Exactly. Well, remember now, let's tell them a little bit about Kendrick Johnson, Valdosta,
Georgia.
What they did say, what we surmise and believe, some of us, is that homie must have had him a white girlfriend. He was very popular, very athletic. And when
I think he was just athletic and healthy.
Yes.
And they scoped out his organs a long time ago. They knew his blood type.
Right. And his father came out and spoke about the mere fact of him being found in that gym, rolled up in that mat that way.
Stuff for newspapers.
That, of course, they would have to, that was afterwards. Someone would have to have been tackling this strong young man,
football star,
to get him rolled up in this mat. And there are 4 cameras inside the gym, and no one wants to come up off of those images.
Well, the coroner didn't even allow the report to be released. So we're talking about a system of white supremacy that we saw with Trayvon Martin.
Well, I can prove that because, let's just say I wanted to get into the organ snatch and hustle. I would have some type of credentials to know what I'm cutting, right? Mm-hmm. So we're talking about trained doctors here.
Trained doctors here.
Trained physicians.
Maybe
the coroner.
Not trained,
come on now.
Anatomically astute.
Okay, what I'm saying is you got to be trained so you don't cut the wrong.
You absolutely right.
The point where this is occurring is at the coroner's.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
So when
With Kendrick Johnson in particular.
right, and also Trayvon.
Yeah,
Trayvon Martin,
As
right.
I said before, that aspect of his story has not been brought to the forefront.
Exactly.
Right.
But when you think about it, the fact that he died less than 100 feet from his front door,
Hello.
and that his father had been calling the police all
2
that
days.
evening.
Yep.
And the people heard cries in the neighborhood that
Right.
they had audio of.
Right. So on the third day, now the body is released back. Why? Because after 3 days, you can be considered a John Doe, and that coroner can then remove those organs.
Right.
Bingo. Well, see, again, when we go back to the history of white supremacy and them taking our organs, certainly at that point they weren't necessarily selling them.
Right.
But what we have to do is fast forward because the Germans, Romans, basically
Same
same
thing.
people,
Mhm.
they were also taking organs and using experiments. And the doctor that was doing this, his name escapes me right now, but they have been doing all type of heinous experimentation. But then let's fast forward to the 70s in Atlanta. Missing and murdered children, 25, and they were mutilated.
Right.
That's right.
Organs taken.
Right.
And many people say, well, this were white supremacists going into homes, taking children out of their homes,
Right.
and then they're finding them with various organs taken out. So they never stop experimenting on us.
Well, see, that's why I brought up being trained in the stoop, because Wayne Williams, I'm sure, wasn't trained. To
Right, and we came to
snatch
discover
organs.
later on, I mean, basically those hypodermic needle marks, whereby which, some organs were removed, but some places we saw hypodermic needle marks, and particularly the one young sister who was chained to the tree. I remember we had those images, and it was like some kind of way her skin had wrinkled, like she had been experimented with over a period of time.
Right.
And her body had degraded to a point where you thought it was an old woman.
Yes.
But the mere fact that during that time, the big thing like now is the melatonin,
Yes.
Okay.
Teach, brother.
which is being removed from Africans on the continent based upon them being diagnosed with AIDS at a particular time.
Yes.
Okay.
And then those organs being removed and then that being chemically processed into a multi-billion-dollar industry with this melatonin. But back during that time, we know it was the interferon.
Well, now, are you talking about the sister that they did all the experiments on, made all the money from, and her and her family got zero
Right.
from it?
The cancer, they took the cancer cells. Helen Lack.
Teach, my brother.
Helen Lack, whose body was experimented on, and she was given cancer, and then those cancerous cells were kept frozen
Defeated.
Right.
over a period of time after her body began to produce antibodies to
Resistance.
Oh, so she was
to it.
giving cancer just like they were giving syphilis at Tuskegee,
Hello.
just like they were giving HIV in the Sudan,
right.
And the Congo.
and the
Yeah.
Congo,
Yeah.
and let's not mention South Africa.
All the
Look.
smallpox vaccinations all over the continent contain
Right.
antibodies in order to defeat. Of course, Africans have in their blood a different, based on the food that they eat, the yams and things of that nature.
That's right.
Sickle cell naturally.
Ooh,
Okay,
so you can't get out my mind,
y'all,
brother. You just be ready to try.
but y'all wonder why us black men with the medical apartheid not going to the
You
hospital.
feel me? The sickle cell was natural to the
Right.
indigenous African people.
Right.
Why they saw sickle cell and like, whoa, what's this? They began to study and research. See, again, what you have in underground experimentation. Tell
Right.
you what started it. In the 30s, you had Frankenstein.
Right.
Frankenstein's monster was what? When they got various body parts
Right.
and then assembled this monster.
Right.
Now they're on GPTV or one of the more educational channels. They're talking about the bionic man that they have
Right.
made from various body parts. So you have underground experimentation going on that does not have to go through the FDA
Right.
and all
So-
these others, but they do know they want to create another human and they want to do it their way.
So let me define underground. Underground just meaning the black community not knowing about it.
Well, the underground means
Because
that those who
let's-
are rich control it.
Okay, because let's look at why it's a crime against humanity for them to use chemical weapons that can contaminate your organs, rather than me just coming with a bazooka blowing everybody up. Oh, it's all good. Yeah. We
We
can
might need
extract.
them later on.
Right, we need those organs, right?
Don't-
But don't use no
put-
chemicals
right,
on it.
right.
You gonna have a problem.
DDT?
Right.
Remember that? Where they were spraying it, crop dusting. I grew up in that generation. And then, oops, come to find out, whoa, DDT is
Give you
causing all
cancer.
kind of lesions and cancer.
Right.
And Vioxx, anybody?
Right.
Approved by the FDA.
Right.
And
Well,
what did they find out? Hundreds of people killed by what? Vioxx.
right. Or they're taking a simple supplement known as iodine. You know, they're taking that away.
Yes.
And so
Used
out of
to
the
be in
salt.
the salt.
Yeah, it used to be in the salt. And now they're taking it out, replacing it with fluoride and I can't even pronounce the long 4-syllable word, but yeah, it's causing problems. So yeah, we're going to have more people with organ failures, and so there's going to be more organ snatchers.
Now, my brother mentioned
You know.
about there being a police group for doctors. And
Right.
I believe that the doctors themselves should be their own police.
Right.
But in reality, because of the
With capitalism going on?
because of the, watch this tongue twister, the hypocrisy of the Hippocratic Oath. You feel me? Because if they were about healing, it would not be the chemical sorcery that they use to keep us coming back.
But see, again, that's why I try to promote science. All that time that we spend on studying nonsense, Gideon.
Right.
We could be studying science and producing our own doctors, our own physicians. You ain't got to worry about what they are doing. Since we were supporting about what they're doing, the white supremacist doctors, we could have our own doctors, our own physicians, our
But
own
if
nuclear
our
medicines.
daughters, our mothers, and our grandmothers trust the white man or the brother that's gone to the white man's school to learn about the anatomical differences or similarities of the body, then, and they're making the money, mama and them are going to teach their children to do what? Go to that doctor.
Right.
Yeah, but
there's
we
been
can
a
develop our own
break,
practices,
because
though.
we as brothers, we ain't trusting the doctor like they are.
Right. But see, that's a cultural question because, I mean, to have the consciousness to understand to go get them herbs,
Right.
and
Right.
don't be running to the hospital.
Right.
Comes with a certain education that comes from the community level, but also the mere fact of that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is like you was mentioning, Black. So you good, we good and healthy.
Yeah.
You know, people are through the hospital and medical system steered in a direction, and if they don't go that way, then they're just resorting to snatching hundreds of thousands of African people off of the street every year, young girls and boys. And we think a lot that has to do with the sex slave trafficking, which it
Well, it does, right? It does.
But you have to particularly look when we're talking about young males.
Yes.
You know, because not to say they aren't sold into sex slavery.
They are.
But 9 times out of 10, especially the older ones that we know would never comply with that.
Right.
You have to look at those cases as especially being illegal organ thefts.
Yes.
Right.
And research it from that point of view. Look locally. I mean, it's not hard. These people have found the people who were doing it. All you got to do is follow, because they followed the Mexicans when they came up here.
Yes,
Right.
So they
And
would sell them and have
Right.
them come up here and say, we're going to give you a job, so. You go straight to that brothel, or you go straight into these camps that they have way isolated out where they do
Absolutely.
these medical experimentations on these
And
people.
let's not forget, you got more Africans, Americans, African people, period, that have blood type O.
Right.
Meaning we are more, we can,
Rare.
right. No, which is more compatible with a blood type A,
Right.
blood type B.
It's universal.
Blood type O is universal. So,
Right.
man, they can, they go around our neighborhood, they send that blood truck right there and,
Yeah.
Well, the experimentation, it goes with not only, but see what they've been wanting, what they have seen in us that they hate, but what they've seen in us that they love. They hate our features. They talked about our nose. They talked about our hair. They talked about our lips, our fullness, our beauty. But what they want is our melanin. The melanin is the key element that Europeans, that protects them from the sun. It is the central starting point for metamorphoses.
But why
Because you and
not?
I can sit under the sun and see a transformation right before
your
our eyes. Now, what is the logical progression of the metamorphoses and the instance of this, what we call melanin?
But
What
I
is the
think-
logical conclusion?
But I think, well, Guinea, I have a different outlook. I think because the so-called white supremacists or the people, they're not eating healthy.
They are
They're
not.
they're doing things, sipping coffee, smoking cigarettes, in some case smoking weed that's grown in laboratories. Look out now,
You're
right?
pointing at me.
I'm pointing at people who
Correct.
try to defend the weed and it's grown in laboratory. They can't pinpoint where it's growing from.
true that.
Right.
That's
And now they got half the states legalized and half the states keeping it legal. And
Trick. That's a trick.
that's a
now.
trick, right? That's a trick. But what I'm saying is that if you don't know where it's coming from, our food, our marijuana, our corn, our I can go down the list. I mean, people have the people in here to eat cereal don't even know what BHT is.
Hello.
And that's the main ingredient on cereal,
Or
BHT.
genetically modified. What is that? And how do you wash that off?
Well, I
You
mean,
don't.
get in. I mean, we'll see.
You're cleaning that.
You ain't no
Right.
cleaning that up.
Right.
When
Well,
you get to that point where you understand and you move in that direction in order to make yourself healthier, it's that, in the back of your mind, you're saying that, hey, look, I'm doing this in order to give myself long life and longevity. So
Right.
The way that we are basically being harvested,
Right. Let's
under
talk about the prisons, right.
Under
Excellent.
direct security control of the
Yes.
oppressor.
Absolutely.
Force-fed, genetically modified foods, and
Absolutely.
they lie about it.
Hello.
They don't have to label it now,
They
Monsanto.
don't. In America.
Right.
Anyway.
And then, like I said, if we're not filtering it through the medical system, we're just taking directly off the street, as that young brother Kendrick and as Trayvon was done.
Right, and I'm glad you mentioned that because 98% of the black males that enter into prison, they enter healthy.
Yes.
And they come out with limbs missing, organs missing. I mean,
Yeah.
you talk about a harvesting factor,
Yeah.
that's what the prison
I've
industries
seen it.
are.
I've seen
Right.
it, especially in the federal system.
Right, if y'all pay attention, if you guys know somebody that went to prison, a lot of them go in there healthy and they come out with something missing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a fact. Just
And
think
it
about
ain't
it.
just in prison.
Right.
They're taking our organs. Again, I talked about the women in the...
Right, because they're telling the women that the organs are useless. I'm telling you that. I have a
Exactly.
right. They're telling that it serves
Kendrick,
no
you don't
purpose. Right,
need
you don't
that.
need that.
Yeah,
Right.
you got a bump on your pinky toe, your gallbladder got to come out.
Right.
Exactly. You
Right.
don't need that.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, your tonsils. Oh, you don't need that.
Right, you don't need
Oh,
that.
God
It
put
serves
that
no
in there.
purpose.
He made a mistake.
Right.
so-
It serves no purpose. Right.
Exactly.
I mean, but like you said earlier, with that Hippocratic oath, which we know
It's
from
hypocrisy.
the Evers Papyrus, all of their medical knowledge comes from
Egypt.
Brother Imhotep.
In hotel.
And like I said, if you want to be knowledgeable and research things for yourself, you will come to understand that you have a natural apothecary
Yes.
of herbs and supplements, these things to
Absolutely.
cure yourself. And then you have, on the other hand, medical experimentation.
Science.
You go in there and they're going to cut you with a knife.
Thank
and they're
you.
going to open you up. And they're going to look in there and throw this around and that around and see
Leave
what
some,
they want.
leave
But see,
some
that's why
scissors
I
in
always
there,
teach.
Put some stuff in
Yeah,
there.
some webbing and all that. You're gonna
That's
get
why I
that.
always advocate research. That means,
Right.
not just having faith and believing,
Right.
Gideon, but doing research and finding facts and evidence on
Let's
things.
define
Because if we just
science versus apothecary.
Right.
He made a delineation between the two. Now, science is used in medical technology.
Okay.
The apothecary would go out into the field. Mom and them use sassafras, yellow root, golden seal. You feel me?
Okay.
Those are herbs that we were peppermint.
Okay, but the only problem I have with the holistic thing is that we're living in a nuclear age right now, okay? Chernobyl is still leaking, and Japan is leaking. We live in a radiation age.
We do.
So
That-
everything is radiated.
Radiated,
So now we have to
absolutely.
have medicine to counterbalance the radiation.
Well, before Chernobyl now, that was the place right here in
3 Mile
America.
Island.
3 Mile
Mile.
Island.
Right.
Thank you.
Right, so
Please
Japan is
forget.
constantly, it's spewing as we
But see,
speak.
it's so important that you say that because particularly with radiation, the white lady Marie Curie, she killed herself trying to find the answers, but we got good documentation.
Okay,
The
good.
liver is the key with
Okay.
radiation.
Filtering.
Because it's all about, you're right, we're radiated to death, but the only way you
Right,
can get
we
it
live-
out your system is in order to cleanse your system. You can
Agreed.
force those
Cleansing the
things
blood.
out of your system. Matter of fact, after Chernobyl, they
Yes.
found that the melanated beetle, they call it the melanated beetle, they actually titled it that, but it's a little black beetle.
Okay.
And it was the first animal to come back
To
after
survive.
Chernobyl.
Oh, wow,
Yeah,
okay.
So we understand that melanin, that darkness, that 666,
Mm.
6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons.
Yes, sir.
The key element in the universe.
In the
is
universe.
the key whereby which you can filter these radiations and these genetic modified organisms out of your system
Right.
in order to avoid having to
Deal.
go to the medical system and even have to make that choice of
Well, when I say- okay.
What he's identifying is why they are extracting our body parts. Because we are the original. We're the archetype. And because of our resistance to their diseases because they have experimented on us from the beginning, and they've only started. That's why they went to Africa. That's what AIDS was all about.
Right.
It was all about experimentation. And guess what? AIDS doesn't even exist in my mind. It is an acquired immune deficiency. What is a cold?
Acquired immune deficiency.
Thank you. AIDS hasn't killed anybody. But what they say, because your immune system is compromised by your T cells coming down to a count of 250, therein lies opens the door for pneumonia, kidney failure.
Okay, but Gideon, I'm trying to warn the healthy people here, because I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
There's a killer out there snatching people's organs, invasion of the organ
But see,
snatchers.
this is how it's occurring,
So,
as the brother is saying, because in Africa, the way they get the organs in order to produce the melatonin and all the other supplements they have, human growth hormones,
Thank
and
you.
all of this stuff,
Yes, sir.
they call it AIDS
Right.
when it's not, when it's the same thing, the diarrhea,
Thank you.
or constipation,
Right, the
or
mosquito,
fatigue,
right.
or dehydration,
Right.
and they call that AIDS.
Yes.
And then take you to the hospital
Thank
to give
you.
you the medicine
Right.
that
There you go.
actually
Right.
kills you in order to
Absolutely.
extract the
Thank
organ.
you. There it is.
well,
right there.
let's bring it back home and talk
There
about
it is.
the radiation. They call it what do they call that? When they give you radiation treatment.
What, you talking about
Chemotherapy.
X-ray?
Chemotherapy.
Chemo,
Yeah.
X-ray.
too.
See,
Chemotherapy.
This is the thing.
Chemotherapy is more intense though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Chemo is more intense because it is a concoction, a cocktail of chemicals that's supposed to isolate the cancerous cells and destroy them, but it isn't isolating. It's an
Right.
experiment. They are
Right.
testing. So when we look
absolutely.
at this issue of the isolating of the damaged cells, the question is the oncologists themselves don't even know where the cancers come from.
Right.
So the question I think that we would try to leave our audience with today, how do we fight against the invasion of the organ snatchers?
That's a good question. Well, we got to look at number one. We got to look at from a voluntary and involuntary.
Mama and them going to that doctor.
Right. So we need to produce more doctors.
Do we, if they're under the
We
Hippocratic,
need to- no.
if they're under the Hippocratic,
You're not listening,
the
Gideon.
hypocrisy
You're not listening, Gideon. We need to produce doctors, just like the MOVE. They had doctors in their organization.
Right.
Nobody talks about that.
Natural holistic practitioner.
That's the key. Mama and them was the doctor. Daddy was the doctor.
Okay, but you got to train
Granddaddy
them. You got to train. Just because I'm black and I'm melanated, that doesn't make me a doctor.
It
We
does
got to be
not.
trained.
You're trained.
Oh, Lord, look, the Yahweh and God gave me the. No, we got to be trained.
I know
agree
that when you look at the Cuban medical system,
Which is
many
right.
people, which many people consider the best in the world,
It is, right.
you find that there is a balance training.
Yes.
You have
Okay.
the scientific aspect, which is well covered, whereby which you're able to diagnose
Yes.
symptoms
Right.
Diagnosis.
through the blood
Yes, sir.
by spinning it, finding different
Centrifuge.
cells and things
Exactly.
within it, using the scientific aspect in
Right.
order to analyze,
Right.
and then going back, even with it slightly, the federal, the Food and Drug Administration of the United States and the pharmaceuticals have their own system of medical
Identification,
pill production
isolation,
over here.
whatever.
Oh, absolutely.
But you can make, just like you can take the herbs and crush them up and put them in a couple gel capsules. So
Echinacea.
you're looking at a whole nother system of
Right.
treatment and diagnosis and curing,
Well,
Yes.
we need to get on
gives
that.
you both sides.
Yes.
Once you look outside of this particular Babylonian system
Right.
of experimentation.
And that's what I'm saying. We need to get on that system immediately.
Yeah.
Well,
Right,
the
immediately.
minister went out of the country. Coretta Scott King went out of the country. There have been various others. See, American medical system has not been able to prohibit or cure diseases.
Yeah, but everybody
They
doesn't
have
have the-
profited off of the proliferation of disease.
Right.
And what they do is keep our people in fear through media, mass media,
Religion,
programming,
religion,
as well,
belief, and
absolutely. But the issue has to do with how is it cured? And if they haven't cured, they talk about the curing of polio, but polio is on the rise again.
All right.
So all of these things that they said that they have cured through their
Same with gout.
vaccination,
Gout is on the rounds too.
Absolutely.
Everything that was in the McCarthy era is coming back.
Yeah.
because it never went anywhere.
Well, because they decided they can make money off of it.
Right.
Well,
You
you
know.
have to understand cleanliness. See, it was the Moors that came over here and helped to teach Europeans cleanliness.
Right.
They had Europe was infested with rats.
Okay,
And
but Gideon, you
filth.
keep taking me way, but we're talking about now. We're talking about
Today,
people,
it-
organs getting snatched right
Because
now.
of capitalism.
Right, and we
and
keep
the
talking about
ability to
ancient
sell.
Africa and ancient this. I'm saying, like, I want to talk about right now, Gideon.
So-
How do we solve this problem right now?
Based on kind of the, like I said, the number one, and I think that's what we were coming and segueing into was
Okay.
the history of
Exactly.
medical experimentation and how now today we must understand that that's what occurred in
This
order
is
for
the
us to move in a
progression
new
of it.
direction.
Right.
The new direction has to be, I mean, how do you stop Kendrick or Trayvon from
Right.
being snatched off the streets? We coming all the way back to
Full
community,
Right.
to a community organization in order to, as brothers, we need to be looking to, as you said, forming organizations whereby
Right.
which people are informed about this
See, that's what I like.
as a
We
segue
right.
into
Former-
under community organization.
That's
Hey, look,
right.
bro, all right, you catch you out there now, you know, and you sit up in that county jail and you start feeling sick,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you better know who to call, you know. So at least as having some type of idea that, hey, look, this may be occurring, these people may have some type of advice to offer me if I find myself in that extreme, drastic situation.
Right.
Well, let me look at the era of Elder Joseph Eccles Lowry. His beautiful wife just transitioned in
Yes,
her 90s.
Ashe,
Still
Ashe.
both beautiful people. But the reality of her genius and her power wasn't her pronouncement and her upfrontness. She was a behind-the-scenes powerhouse.
Okay.
They worked together, unified in building SCLC Women, Elder Dr. Lowry and his organization. But they worked in unity, but she worked behind him as an upliftment. Today, we don't have that. To show you what I mean, Trayvon Martin case. They had one, they was all female, one supposed Latino, which turned out to be a sister. Now, as it turns out, the sisters, not only do they love the
But hold on,
white
get in.
man's
Hold on, get in.
medical-
I'm gonna blame that on you because you say, "Oh, we don't need the vote." You know how they get on that jury? They vote. They register to vote. So that's how you, as a strategy, Gideon.
It is
See,
a strategy.
we need to stop being so spooked out.
But let
We gotta-
me make the
something-
point
okay, go ahead.
about the family.
Okay, go
If
ahead.
our sisters are going to rally behind a system that's trying to destroy us, the doctors that are part of that system that's trying to destroy us, and they put their faith in that, but they look at us as the enemy, and they will side legally with the system that's trying to kill us, then we can't depend on them, and they, in effect, are not depending on us.
But look at the
So
logic.
what the point I was
Okay.
trying to make with Dr. Lowry is that generation had the women what? With them, behind them,
Okay.
supporting. This time we don't.
Okay, let me say this in the defense of that one sister that was on the jury. You sent that one sister outnumbered by all these white women. You know what I'm saying? So that's not a fair.
Wait a minute. Does truth stand or does it cower?
If it's outnumbered, it don't matter. If you outnumber, you can say, let's look at
Are we
the
not
move
outnumbered?
organization.
You and I. But
What
we
I'm saying,
stand
no.
on
No.
principle.
What I'm saying,
Are
Gideon, you
atheists
had that.
outnumbered by Christians?
That could be up for debate. No, not really, not really.
Oh, come on.
Really. Be honestly,
Christianity is the biggest
truly,
religion on the planet,
no, truly and
But
honestly,
that don't stop you from standing, does it?
truly and honestly, Christianity is outdated in the minds. We don't follow the blood and all that. We don't even believe in a God. Really, honestly, we
The
don't.
point I was
Right.
making, you have been outnumbered, but that hadn't stopped you from standing.
No.
So the numbers and truth-
Really, honestly, no, I don't know. If I include Russia, because we getting deterred from the economy, but let me just say this real quick to answer your question.
All right.
As far as a worldwide scale, they just not out. Let's look at Russia. Let's look at China. No, we're not outnumbered. So let's get back to the topic, Gideon. Because really, the Christians are outnumbered because they represent the poor people, the ones with the nukes that believe that God is government,
Right.
rule the world, rule the planet. So let's not play in our Barack Obama. Yeah, he's an atheist. So let's get back to the topic of the organs. Yes, yeah. He wrote in his book,
problem.
Letters to My Father. It's right there. But we
yeah?
don't pay attention to that,
I
right?
didn't read that one.
Well,
Right.
most of you have a lot of people that are in religious positions. I mentioned Dr.
But let's get back on the
That-
organs.
Okay.
I don't
Right.
want to talk about no religion.
If we can
God.
segue into it though. If you do believe in God within
let's not get spiritual.
Whatever.
Let's get back to the organ snatching. Why? Because
we're segueing back into it.
Okay.
Whatever your belief system is.
Okay.
Based upon the fact that we are in a political system,
Absolutely.
Right.
which is formed under a capitalist
Agenda.
Okay. Right. Right.
Absolutely.
and that under this capitalist agenda, we have found ourselves not only being the foundation of it, being that we came here in chattel slavery, and that being the original foundational developmental system for this country.
Right. Right.
Absolutely.
But now we find ourselves in a peculiar position whereby which our actual body parts are being proliferated
Right.
as a market
Right.
here with under this capitalist system,
Absolutely.
and that our basic security and survival as a people is dependent on us now becoming aware of that and taking a new direction as far as strategizing and controlling our community so that
That's
we don't
what I'm
come up
talking
under
about.
that type.
Well,
that's what I'm talking about.
Atlanta, the city of Atlanta, is a hub for this.
Oh, absolutely.
It
Right.
is.
That's
It's
why I bring.
international
That's why I'm
hub.
bringing this topic.
It
Bringing it
always
home.
has been, and it still is. And the mere fact that all you have to do is go into the convenience store and see the picture on the glass of this brother or this young sister
Sister, that's
missing,
right.
that you just that automatic what my mind goes to. You know,
Right.
like I said, particularly when you see the young brothers. But for us right here where we are in the city of Atlanta, as I said before, I think we need to strategize on some type of organizational structure whereby which we can, if not just expose this topic more to the community,
Absolutely.
if not form some type of support system for those who have gone through that, you know, bring those stories out. Because today when I was researching it, it was some, which I've looked at it before, I was like, man, there's some more videos out.
That's right.
Before we had the sisters. Last year, I didn't go this year, but last year I went to the Congressional Black Caucus, and their sister Karen Bass had a forum on human trafficking
Sex slaves?
and its effect on black women and girls.
Right.
And they had the sisters in there who had actually escaped
Yes.
from back. One had escaped all the way back from Dubai.
See, that's
You know,
what we
and,
need.
and when they were speaking about what was occurring during the time when they were in captivity was unbelievable. You wouldn't believe some of the stuff, man.
I would.
No, I
That's
absolutely
going just
would.
stuff you
I
never
right.
thought of. You know, in the
I
most
trust me.
depraved mind.
Oh, trust
you
me.
know, in order because it's
Most of those atrocities going on in Los Angeles, they call it
Right.
snuff
Well,
films.
Snuff
Saw,
film, yeah.
the Saw series.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
like Saw 9 now or
Yeah.
whatever.
Right.
Where
Chopping
they're
them up.
cutting them up, chopping them up. Dude, I believe that programs like this is going to be a very vital tool in making people aware of
Right.
what's going on.
Right.
We're not going to be able to solve this problem.
Sure we
because
can.
Sex trafficking in human body parts.
Wait,
trafficking
who said
in
you can't
humans,
solve the problem, Gideon?
period, is something that was going on long before we came on the scene, because it is a commerce. Capitalism is about commerce. Whatever they can
Right.
sell, they will. The way we can protect ourselves is we got to go back to our family and community. But we don't understand what family is, nor community now, because they've been redefined.
Right.
Well, see, in order to control your family, Gideon, you must control the politics. You must control governments. And
That's
we
what I was
have
going to
the
say. Let me show you about voting. Detroit, wasteland, experiment gone bad, automotive industry, toxic waste left. The people voted for a new mayor.
Let me just ask you a
Wait
question.
Wait a minute, hold on.
Okay,
Tommy
I gotta ask you a
Patrick,
question. Okay.
Just got 29 years in jail.
Okay.
They tried to put him at the foot of the problem.
Okay.
It was long before Kwame Kilpatrick. But the people voted for another mayor. You know what they got? A city manager.
Oh, so
Listen to
get
what I
in.
said. The people
Listen.
voted
Get
for
in.
a city manager.
Gideon,
They
but you're
got,
not okay as a black nationalist.
they
you're not
voted for a mayor.
Okay,
They got a city
let me
manager.
give you a black nationalist approach to that, Gideon.
Yes, sir.
Then why don't you form somebody that goes into government? Why don't you, all those people that you got going to church, why don't you train them into government? Going into the Senate or in the Congress and take over the government. Because you sit up there and cry about, oh, the government this, oh, the government that, and voting. Man, go into it.
You know
and
how
take
I go
it
into
over.
it? And you know, I mean, what you're saying, I hear you.
Oh, man.
Because
I'm
go into
right.
it is through organizations like Rainbow Push, like people.
No, I'm talking about real governments.
No, these
real
people,
positions.
Listen, what is government? Government is a nautical term that simply means the direction in which the people are going to be driven. So
Okay.
the real power in the government are these organizations that are behind the scenes, that are people willing to fight but they've been duped into thinking and believing that the political process is going to change our condition. Has it?
I'm answering your question.
Has our
Let's go
condition
back.
changed?
Let's go back to the juror. Let's go back to that one juror out of 5, how she was outnumbered. You see what I'm saying? We have the numbers,
Her mouth
people.
was not muzzled.
Listen, Gideon, if you got 5, 6 jurors.
Yes.
And everybody say guilty.
Yes.
One says not guilty or whatever.
Right.
That overrides. The numbers override, Gideon. You're not understanding numbers.
I never have felt that numbers were an impediment for our
Okay, well that's the problem.
survival.
That's the problem.
Because we're the smallest number in this country.
Says
We're
who?
13%.
Says who?
On their census.
Their census.
I mean,
Because based on the last election now,
exactly.
where did all these black votes come from?
Well,
And where all this pandering for the black votes come from? Come on now, Gideon.
Well, they got
Come
people
on.
voting that's dead. They've
I
already
mean,
done
right.
that. That's what that's
Right,
the
and
issue
so what I'm
about voting
saying-
impropriety is all about.
And I have another perspective
Okay.
also, as far as the governmental issue, whether we go from the community organizational level or full sovereignty.
Okay, now you know. Hold on now. Hold on, bro. Okay, I'm about to get you.
The system that control. Either way you look at it, the mere fact that,
Because what I did was when I started looking into this topic,
Yes.
the next thing that I found myself doing was being on the phone with organizations on the continent, because it seemed like it was centered and focused out of that. I mean, it was so crazy. These guys in Nigeria, they digging people up and cutting them up and
Right.
sending them all
I
around.
was
So-
in Nigeria.
General butt naked.
so I'm looking at it from the standpoint of, as you said, the numbers game, and that we have to go back to our brothers and sisters on the continent to really get a real perspective of the
Right.
degree to which
that.
this thing is being proliferated. Matter of fact, we're having the ambassador from Zimbabwe here November
Okay.
the 3rd at the Bole restaurant.
Okay,
5 p.m.
good.
The word
Bole.
African diaspora, yes, Bole. Yeah, that's kind of cool. I asked the brother about it too, but what he told me was that Bole is the name of the region in Ethiopia that is next to their international airport. So this is in
Maybe that's where they
College
got the term from.
Park. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a whole lot of Italian connection there.
Yes, sir.
But anyway, when I began to research this topic and I spoke with the ambassador about it, he talked about security concerns with
Right,
these
absolutely.
people at the borders crossing, because they share a border with South Africa.
Right.
They share a border with Botswana on this
Right,
side, and
that's
both
right.
of them capitalist controlled.
Exactly.
So they're finding their people in government, soldiers, things of this nature, disappearing
Right.
at these border crossings. So they have many examples and stories of
So
how
what you're
this
saying
thing
is
being
that the snatching
proliferated.
organs is international.
It's an international
Okay.
trend. In order for us to
Alright.
fully
Network.
understand it,
I'm glad.
in order for us to fully understand it, we are in the diaspora, 12% of the population by
Thank
their statistics, as we have said. But
Yes.
on the
So to say,
continent,
right.
you have it driven by the capitalist profit system to the degree that our own people
Right.
are going digging people up, their own people,
Absolutely.
out of the
Right.
graves and selling their body parts back. So. I mean, if we're going to look at it, let's look at it from the full perspective,
Yes.
internationally, all the way down to the local level, like we said with Brother Kendrick and Trayvon, which, if I didn't explain earlier, as I said, it takes 3 days for you to become a John Doe.
Right.
So that's how long it was, even though he
They
died
waited.
70 feet from his door,
Yes.
and his dad had been calling the police for 3
Trayvon's.
days. They didn't come up with the body until 3 days later.
Exactly.
And of course, full autopsy by the coroner already done at that time.
Absolutely.
And as
Right.
we found with Brother Kendrick, when
Yes.
the family got his body, the funeral home director, the black funeral home director, like, hey, look, something ain't right here.
Right.
We know how to do this job, and it ain't supposed to be no newspapers.
Hello.
Right.
In his
Newspapers are-
orifice and in his brain.
Right. So they
Where his
they-
brain
they-
was.
so
Right.
it's even escalating to a greater level. But of course, during the autopsy, that's so strange. It's almost like in that case, it is like showing us that we're powerless, because
Bingo!
the way that it was done didn't
Bingo.
even make sense.
I'm glad now. See that's why.
Jerry
I-
Bird,
Okay,
Texas,
so do
drug
you
behind
see-
a vehicle.
Okay, but
dismembered.
hold on, Gideon. Do you see why when he just said that we're hopeless? So if we have people in this field, we can counterbalance that. Because, like I said, right now you keep saying underground. What I'm saying is not underground.
Let me give you an
Underground
example.
just simply means people in our
Let me give you
community
an
don't know
example.
about it
2 examples.
because it's international.
The police force and the Lawyers Association.
Okay.
In the police force, they have what's called a blue code.
I
That blue
don't care
code
about-
then
Of silence.
will allow people to be seen, beaten to death, killed, dismembered, and that blue code will keep them what? Silent. Doctors, they have a Hippocratic oath. In that oath, it allows them to do all the things that European medicine has told them without inclusion of any type of holistic or natural approach, because
but-
they are mandated by their licensing. See, licensing oaths, contracts are what European-minded people who follow their white oppressor will sign in blood if necessary to be able to
But that's-
gain the benefits of
That's not
their
always
white
true, Gideon. Look
oppressor.
at Attorney Alton Maddox. I mean, he supposedly had an oath, right? But now he's attorney for the people, right? He's giving us all this information every.
What
I mean,
information? Like what?
let's see. Let's
United African Movement, attorney Alton Maddox, protege of Dr. Clark, which I haven't heard anything pretty much here lately, but
Thank you.
all the activists that I know, which I work with Dr. Leonard Jeffries and Jay Small, all of them give credence to
who Karen Mason works with also.
But check it out,
Might
though.
know that. Right.
Why have none of these naturalists, historians, gotten a legal identity for us as a people? Or
Because
for
that's some
themselves?
BS. That's some BS, Gideon. That's a belief system that you keep harping on.
it's not
The
a
sovereignty. No. I'm telling you. I'm gonna tell you a fact, and this is
That's
gonna.
why I said that when I said sovereignty earlier.
Right, I'm about.
Oh,
right, I'm
I'm-
about.
hey,
Okay,
I'm
well,
sovereignty
let me.
poster
Okay,
child,
let
baby.
me define sovereignty.
You don't even know.
Let me define sovereignty like I defined to the brothers up in New York off of 125th Street in Harlem. Let me take you back to the Bush administration.
Come
Okay, when Russia invaded Georgia,
Yes.
which is a flag
province
state,
of
which is a flag state of the United States.
Okay.
They went in there, they ran tanks right through downtown. You know what George Bush got on the TV and said? Russia, you guys did a bad thing, but they did not. You know why, Gideon?
Nukes.
Okay, nuclear, right, which
Thank you.
defines your sovereignty. Again, to prove my point, let's look at Kim Jong-un. Or no, let's go to Kim Jong-il. He said, you know what? They bombed American flagships with South Korea,
Right.
Yeah.
bombed them straight to the bottom of the ocean.
Off them
That's right.
islands over there.
Obama's like, oh man, and Kim Jong-un said, you know what, we're gonna bomb not only them, we're gonna bomb New York and California and DC off the face of the planet.
Okay.
You know, Obama didn't do a dang thing
Of course
because
not.
they're sovereign, because nuclear weapons define your sovereignty. Let me say it again for
In
the
a
people out
nuclear
there.
age.
Nuclear, right, let me keep it, let me get it up to date, because our people, black people, when it comes to the definition of sovereignty, we back in the 1800s. We back in the 1800s. Let me define it as of 2013. If you do not have nuclear weapons, you are not a sovereign nation. That's why Iran is rushing to get their nuclear program together. And that's why Obama said, you know what, we're going to hold off. Because, you know, Russia and China were like, go ahead and mess with Syria. We got the nukes.
Yeah.
Obama's like,
Under the threat of
well,
nuclear
we're going to
annihilation.
stand down.
So getting back to
Well, I'm just saying, right, don't try to be ethical about it, Gideon. See, you try to put religion in everything. What I'm saying is that the reality is nuclear weapons define your sovereignty. Just
agree with
ask
that.
Gaddafi. Oh, that's right, he's
Well,
dead.
He can't ask.
Oh, that's right, ask Saddam Hussein. Oh, that's right,
right.
he's dead too. Because they
Absolutely.
didn't have nuclear weapons, did they?
This is true.
Okay,
Now, do we
so that-
have nuclear weapons?
The United States does.
And no, are we a part of a new?
Yes, we are. Your nationality is United States.
We're
You
not.
are.
We're
You-
not.
Sure we are.
To show you
Sure we
that
are.
The 1963 Voting Act was
Those people
associated
putting
with
together those
people
nuclear
who
weapons are
were-
just like you,
Wait a
Gideon.
minute. Who were and are slaves. That's the only reason you have to have a Voting Rights Act. If you are a full citizen, you have full political rights.
Gideon. People are
by
persecuted
definition.
simply because of their thoughts. Do you understand that, Gideon?
Absolutely.
Their thoughts, their belief system, all that.
Yes.
They're not like you think you're a slave because you read some Bible written by the white man that tells you you're a slave.
Well, no, it's
Now
because of our
let's
condition.
ask Condoleezza Rice if she's a slave.
Well,
Let's
she was,
ask
of course.
Michelle Obama if she's a slave. They will tell you they're not slaves. Gideon. So it's not
what's
about
the guy up there on the Supreme Court,
Clarence Thomas. Ask him if he's a slave. Ask him if he's a slave.
Did he get in through the what was that program? opportunity. He came in on a government program.
Okay,
So
and
the point simply,
right, because a lot of us are under a government program. EBT, anyone? So
I'm
come
like,
on now.
EBT?
Come on now.
Hello?
Let's
My
keep it
mother
real
gets-
now. Come
America
on, you so
without a bill
anti-America.
is EBT.
You are so anti-America. What I'm saying is you don't offer a better system. Not the Hebrew Israelites, not the Muslims, not the Christians. Nobody. Y'all offer a theocratic system, and if y'all set up a theocratic government, I'll be the first to take y'all out.
But see, you've gone into the democracy. That's
Democracy
you
simply-
voted for it.
right.
What is it doing to your people? Killing them?
Which people are you talking about?
Miseducating them?
Which people are you
People
talking
look
about?
like you, will they add
Which
melanated?
people are you talking
Is it
about?
disenfranchised
Because
them?
the
Wait a minute,
people
just answer
people
the
look.
question.
Let me ask you a question. Because most of the people that look like me and you are in the United States Army, Navy. They're over there killing other people. So which people are you talking about?
The people
Because
that look like me and you.
right, just like the people making nuclear weapons look just like me and you.
They do.
So okay, so what's your point, Gideon?
The point is that in this system of white supremacy,
Oh, white
our
supremacy
agenda
again. White
has
supremacy's
to be
dead, man.
A collective agenda, and we've had it before, but it was taken from us.
Capitalist supremacy. It's not
So,
white supremacy.
Getting back to what you were talking about, the organs
Right.
being snatched.
Right.
The only way that we're not going to be able to protect ourselves collectively from that, because we're
Why
living
not?
in a
We can't.
system because our
I don't believe that.
mothers primarily
I don't believe that.
go to doctors that will automatically put, and now with Obamacare, you're going to be forced into the medical system. Because if you don't, then because of your taxes, you're going to be called a criminal, because they're going to stick the IRS on you if you don't pay with the amount that your family falls in the category of. If you don't pay the IRS, them boys will come and get you, put you, mom, and them, everybody in jail.
Yeah, but I don't see none of these people that are so anti-capitalist moving to Cuba.
I'm not going to move, but I don't pay the IRS. You know what I do?
I don't see nobody moving
didn't-
there. Cuba is not
I
that
didn't
far
file
away.
their taxes. They filed them for me. And
Right,
they
but
sent
you-
me
but get in,
they-
but get in,
wait a
you
minute,
still
they
here.
sent me thousands of dollars worth of money.
I
And
can't
you know what
believe you,
I did?
Gideon. Get in.
I sent it back to them.
Right, but that's good. But you know what? But guess what? Forget about the money, Gideon. You left the country and you came back. I can't believe anything that you're saying.
Where you went to?
He went to Nigeria.
Africa.
Right, left the country and came right back.
Jamaica.
But the government's so
Haiti,
evil.
Bahamas, been there, done that. But see, I have a mother here. And,
Oh, man.
and I have responsibilities. Now, I have a show like he does. So I got a job to do until that job is severed. So we're doing the job. I think making people aware of the circumstances of people's organs being snatched, which is
Right.
what they were doing, they've been doing ever since we've gotten here,
Right.
is a vitally important discussion.
I agree.
How do we protect ourselves? The only way we can do it is through families. And right now, family is being redefined.
Well,
so all I'm saying is, in order for us to attack this scenario, it has to be with knowledge, and then ultimately it's the spiritual resolve.
Oh Lord, here we go. See, we
No, I can
get
say
right.
spiritual resolve,
Right,
follow
spiritual was a
survival.
Christian concept, which
well-
takes you right back into Rome, which controls Islam, which controls Christianity.
Africa commit.
Man,
Timbuktu,
Kemet too.
baby.
Man, they were spooked out too.
Yeah,
Look,
okay.
that's why. Look, all the Egyptians. No disrespect to you, Thutmose, but where were their God when we were getting sent on the slave ships? When the Greeks came over, the freaks took over and became pharaohs. Man, I don't want to hear that nonsense,
sold out
man.
and went.
Go on with that nonsense,
People
man.
so loud, and I mean,
They
you
sold
think you're
out.
gonna find
Man,
that
spirituality
from
and
place
capitalism
to
go
place.
hand in hand.
Yeah, you're
Right.
gonna find that humans are humans. They're
In fact,
fair.
let me give you a factual study, okay?
Go ahead.
Most religions teach fear.
They do.
And it is proven that fear shrinks your brain. It's a proven fact. Look
Fear?
it up.
Well, but
It's a
fear
fact.
is balanced in.
No, it
in
shrinks your brain,
culture by
Gideon.
love.
It shrinks your brain.
I don't disagree with that.
Okay, we don't need any more brain shrinkages in this society. We do not.
I would agree with that one.
We do not need no more brain shrinkages. We need scientists. We need nuclear physicists. We need people in the government to learn real sovereignty, because we got our people building the nuclear weapons,
We are
harvesting the
building them for
uranium.
people that's
So we
keeping us
need to
incarcerated.
we need siege power and take control. That's how we solve it. That's
agree
Black
with that.
Sun's
Okay.
solution.
Evolutionary perspective.
Right, because I find it ironic that you talk about white supremacy, but you read a white supremacist book. That
Well,
book
it was
comes out of
written by our
Rome.
ancestors, but it
Man,
was
that is
edited
nonsense.
by
That's
the
nonsense.
Nicene Council, 321 BC.
Christianity, Islam, Judaism, white supremacy. Period.
Go-
White
go.
supremacy. The Bible, the Quran, the Torah, white supremacy.
It's been
if
used
it's not
in
white
that
supremacy,
category.
Arab supremacy.
I
That
would
stuff is
agree.
the enemy of black people, period.
Okay,
The
but
God concept is the enemy
Is
of black people.
democracy the enemy of our people?
The concept, no.
Okay,
Absolutely
is
not.
communism the enemy of our people?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, but if you look under the democratic
And the reason, let me
process, our people are languishing, being
they're not
destroyed
practicing
by,
it. No, but you're talking about,
We're
you're
just
talking about,
talking about the
you're
process
talking
about
the
organ
concept,
snatch.
right. But
Under a
under
democratic government.
capitalism, under capitalism.
Capitalism and democracy go hand in
No, they
hand.
don't. No,
Yes,
they don't.
do.
No, they don't.
In
No, they
America,
don't.
do.
Ask. What about down in Honduras?
Well, yes, you have.
What about Cuba?
What they call more.
Oh, what about Russia? I'm
Hey,
sorry.
hold up.
Let him answer the
Democratic socialism is the actual
you.
term
Okay.
that is used whereby which you have a certain system of voting, but more state-owned industry. You know, just like in Russia. I mean,
Yes.
right now, I mean, they went. Perestroika
China,
didn't turn
right.
them all the way over to it.
Perestroika,
In China,
Glasnost.
China, you still have community
councils and places where
Right.
people come together and vote, but based on the ideological background for the reasoning for that formation, you can say America is socialist democracy.
It is.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
Right.
But
That's
it's
the
all
corporations.
about the theocratic or the system that's in place based upon the classification of people within that society that makes the difference. You can call it what you want to or vote however you want.
Well, all I'm
Has
saying-
the power to define, has the ability to control.
Right, and Rome is defining all religions. That is a straight
It is in fact
fact.
doing just
Right,
that.
but you still following it.
I do not. I'm in a revolution.
Then burn your Bible. Burn it. Burn it, because that is a goddamn
It's in here.
Roman doctrine.
It's in here. I can
Hey,
burn
get
the
out of
book.
it. Man, get out of it.
I'm simply
Burn
saying,
the concept.
it's in here.
Burn
I
the
can
concept.
book
Burn the
because
concept.
it's just a tool.
Gideon, what I'm saying is I'm giving praises to people who actually put the work in, okay? I'm
hear
tired
you.
of people
I hear you.
giving credit to some being when they're doing it. You know what I'm saying?
That's why I love
Okay,
you, my
I
brother.
want people-
Because
right.
you don't believe as I believe doesn't make you my enemy.
I'm glad you said that,
You
right? So I
understand?
want to come together and come
Yes.
up with solutions. I don't want to wait on some
I'm
sky
not trying to
daddy.
make you believe like me.
Okay, we're gonna wrap it up. We're gonna continue this next or
We got
whatever.
about 2
But
minutes.
you got 2 minutes left, yeah. But we had
Okay.
a very exhilarating. But invasion of the organ snatchers, that's real.
1 minute.
That's real. All right, peace. We out.
Yeah.
Hotel.
Don't snap my organs, man. Need my organs.
my liver in my
Start working out and drink. Start working out.
Stop alone.
Eating
man.
genetic food.
Man, you know what I mean?
I know they're good and clean.
I found it back in the thing.
Right, I got it.
Give a little
Higher,
elevation.
yeah.
It's actually the same height as that one.
Yes. Good job, good job.
Right.
All right, if, the next show will be coming in.
Okay.
Quickly, so let's
Exactly. Quick. Okay.
yield to the next one.